ويا باب نجاة الأمة روحي وأرواح العالمين لك الفداء وأقل الفداء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله على نعمة الولاية. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام وكفى بها نعمة. الحمد لله على منة الولاية وكفى بها منة. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا النبي المؤيد والرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سفن النجاة الأعلام. من ركب سفينتهم نجا ومن تخلف عنها هلك وغرق. ثم أما بعد, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are continuing from where we left from yesterday in regard to the question of vicegerency. I hope that I can cover this subject so I can go to another subject matter, since we can utilize so many, topics during these 10 nights, because they are very important 10 nights and we don't often see one another outside these particular important 10 nights. Nevertheless, tonight's topic is about what I call it practical vicegerency. Why do I say practical vicegerency, and what do I mean when we say practical vicegerency? To put it simply, in simple terms, it is to launch the human being into a state of knowledge followed by action. What do I mean by that? Islam is not a religion of theory. Islam is not a religion of theory. It's not about sitting there and giving the best theory about something and then packing up all the theory and putting it on shelves. It means nothing after that. Hussain salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, we all know that on the plains of Karbala, he made his vicegerency very practical. In particular, when he made a very important call, when he was left alone on the plains of Karbala, he made a call. That call reverberates until this very day. What is that call? Ala hal min nasirin yansuruna. This is practical vicegerency. You cannot sit at home and say, I am the supporter of Hussein. I am the loyal adherent of the teaching of Hussein. Yet there is oppression. Yet there is poverty. Yet there is humiliation. Yet there is coercion of people's right. That is not practicality. That is not putting Islam or the belief system into absolute perspective and action. Thus, Islam must become or assume that position where it is a system that enables man to a practical form of belief, rather than just indulging in empty and futile theorizing. As just I said now, you cannot just simply say Islam is the best religion. But you know what? Muslims suffer from the biggest amount of poverty. So much for your Islam, right? So much for your faith, right? The Arab world or the Muslim world suffers from the biggest percentage of what? Literacy or illiteracy? Illiteracy, right? We have, in certain parts of the world, for example, in certain parts of the world, they produce in a daily basis between 4,000 to 8,000 research papers. 4,000 to 8,000 research papers in a day. The Muslim world produces 4,000 research papers in a year. In a year. And then we are talking about Islam being the perfect, of course it is the perfect religion, but the adherents of that faith they are having problem putting it into practice, right? They are having a major obstacle between themselves and the interpretation of that law. You know, one of the interesting questions that I had to yesterday, I don't want to assume what the question is. I will read the question and try to relate it to the topic today. It says, no, it was on my phone actually, not on the paper. So what does the question say? It's very interesting in the sense that we are very much a nation that loves to look for signs outside ourselves rather than looking for signs within ourselves. This is what the question, or how the question reads. بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. It says, is there anything we can do to bring closer the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi, either individually or as a community? What can we specifically do? Address the negligence in yourself. Where do I lack as a human being? Where are my points of weakness, right? Because the Imam wants to come back to a nation that is ready, not to a nation that is not able to accept him or even understand him, right? Because the Imam comes with a system. That system needs to be applied. If the Imam is going to re-educate the individual or the society right from scratch, then when is he going to put that system in place, right? We need to be ready in terms of looking introspectively within ourselves. For example, some young people asked a Sayyid once, I want to meet the Imam. What do I do? So before the Sayyid or the Sheikh was able to answer, you know, you have those pseudo ayatollahs that they just jumped, you know, to answer everything before even someone is given a chance to reply. You know, you have many ayatollahs, many, you know, maraji' taqleed, many, you know, scholars. Before you even open your mouth, the answer is already given. He says, go to Masjid al-Sahla, spend 40 days. I asked that person who's asking to meet the Imam, how long has it been since you went and saw your dad? Since you want to go and spend 40 days in a mosque to meet your Imam. You want to meet your Imam, go meet him through being kind to your dad. You want to meet your Imam, go and help a widow. You want to meet your Imam, go and alleviate the suffering of a poor person. You want to meet your Imam, go and buy some insulin injections to a diabetic who cannot find these injections. This is how you meet the Imam. The Imam is not just waiting for you in Masjid al-Sahla for 40 days for your Royal Highness to meet the Imam. The Imam wants a system in place where we can put it as humans so the Imam will come to you. You don't have to go to him then, right? Isn't it the fact that in the signed letter, signed and sealed letter, by the Imam himself to a Sheikh al-Mufid, we have in history a letter that was sent by the Imam to a Sheikh al-Mufid. What does he say to him? He said, it is on the basis of the news that reaches us about you. It is on the basis of the news that reaches us about you that makes our meeting delayed. Meaning what? Meaning we're not happy. The Imam is saying, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the state of affairs. And this is what? We're talking about the time of Sheikh al-Mufid. We're talking about 700-800 years. Can you imagine what the Imam thinks today about us? If 700-800 years the Imam is not happy, and we had major scholars and people of absolute magnificence, taqwa and, you know, and God consciousness. Can you imagine today our state of affairs? We shouldn't despair, of course, but the question is where to look for the Imam. Unfortunately, through the ahadith and the narrations that we have in the books that we have, we've often been told to look in the horizon for the Imam. You know, 2 eclipses, all right. Yani, it never happened in the course of history of humanity that we had 2 eclipses or 2 solar eclipses or 2 lunar eclipses. It happened. right? And it will keep happening. Why? Because these are natural phenomena. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had put them in this place, in this universe, in order to serve a purpose, not just as a sign and the only sign for the reappearance of the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. For example, a lot of wars, but we had World War I, World War II, which were major than what we have today. And the Imam did not reappear, right? What are we looking for exactly? What we are looking for exactly is not the signs in the horizons, but the signs within. The weaknesses within the individual who is supposed to be God's vicegerent on earth, right? So there is a system that is lacking in our life, and that's what we need to mend. That's what we need to fix. Professor Arnold Toynbee. Who is this professor? He's not a Muslim, number one. Okay? He's not a Shia, number two. All right? He's not in any way related to Islam in any shape or form. Firstly, he's a British historian, philosopher of history, and a research professor of international history at the London School of Economics and the University of London, and author of many books. He's had this to say. Look at what this man, sometimes you look at non-Muslims and you think, who's the Muslim here? Them or us? Honest to God. You look at the way they think and their perspective and you say, who is or who has been able to understand Islam in its proper context? As all these people. Look what he says. He says, while comparing some 20 civilizations in his 10-volume book, A Study of History. So he produced a book of 10 volumes where he studied 20 civilizations. Not one or two, 20 civilizations. And he concludes that societies and civilization developed under the guidance of a very small group of leaders, even sometimes a single personality. He says sometimes the motivating force of a community starts from few individuals. From even sometimes one individual. Look at the case of the Prophet ﷺ. Was he one individual or not? He came, he had no supporters, no backing whatsoever, of course, except the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the backing of Allah. Psychologically, or psychologists say what? Psychologists say you are the product of the society you are born in. Okay? So can we apply this to the Prophet? When he was born in the pre-Islamic era, drinking, womanizing, the weak has no right with the powerful, wars, battles, all these different type of activities were taking place. And he was raised in that environment. Psychologists say you are the product of that environment, meaning you will assume the same habits of the environment you are in. But the Prophet came and he defied all these things, right? He never participated in any party. He never participated in drinking. He never participated in usury. He never participated. Why? Because he was chosen for a task. Just like you and I, we established 2 days ago, Allah said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I'm creating a vicegerent. Why a vicegerent? Because of his potentials. He's able and capable. If he invests in himself or himself, he will be able to produce wonders on the face of this earth. And he continues in order to prove his points. He said, the world has not been without the brave and the fearless among men who, to uphold truth, justice, and righteousness, stand out in the crowd to deliver people from chaos. They don't sit at home. Imam Hussain, I said, could have easily sat in Medina, in the comfort of his home, in the comfort of the respect of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, people told him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, why do you want to leave Medina? Sit here, we will honor you. Ibn Abbas, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, his brother, Abdullah ibn Umar, ibn Mas'ud, all these companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they came to him, they said to him, you are the remnant the remnant of prophethood. You know, some people make ishkal on us. What is ishkal? They give us a challenging question. What do they say? They say, why don't you commemorate 10 days for the Prophet? Why don't you commemorate 10 days for Imam Hassan? Why don't you commemorate all Imams, the all Ma'sumins? And you know the plight of Sayyidah Zahra, there is no plight like a Sayyidah Zahra. Why don't you do 10 days for her? Why don't you do 10 days for Imam Ali sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Well, he is, you know, the Prophet says, Al-Hasan wal Hussain, you know, Sayyiday Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, and I love them to great measures. And then the Prophet said, وَأَبُوهُمَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُمَا. And their father is better than them. Is better than them. So why don't you commemorate 10 days for Imam Ali? Who comes to the answer and the rescue? Imam Sadiq, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, these people, the 5, are the people of the Kisa, Ahlul Kisa, Ahlul Aba'a. You know, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gathered them under one place, and then he said, these are my family. Allahumma adhib anhum rissa wa tahhirhum tathir. So in Sahih Muslim, I was listening recently to a clip on YouTube. Someone was saying in Sahih Muslim, there is no reference where the Prophet actually said, these are my family. These are my family. So he brought the 5 and he recited the verse, but he did not specify that these 5 are my family. And that person who was speaking in the video clip quoted the page and the actual book. So I went to the book. I want to see. Maybe we've been fooled. You know, maybe we didn't know, you've been taught wrongly. So I opened the book in Musnad, in Sahih Muslim, to the same page, to the same reference, and I read it with my own eyes that the Prophet said after he put these 5 people under his cloak, he said, وَهَؤُلَاء أَهْلُ بَيْتِي وَخَاصَّتِي. In Muslim. And there is another reference which is exactly the same in Sahih al-Tirmidhi. Exactly the same riwayah, where the Prophet says, and these are my family and my special ones. وَخَاصَّتِي. Not only my family. Why play with terms? You think people cannot verify the truth? It's easy to verify the truth. Now, the answer, so I don't take much of your time. Imam Sadiq says, when the Prophet died, people took solace in Imam Ali, in Fatima Zahra, salamullah. When Fatima Zahra died, people took solace in Imam Ali. When Imam Ali died, people took solace in Imam Hassan. When Imam Hassan died, people took solace in Imam Hussain. But when Imam Hussain died, and he is the one of the 5, where do the Muslims take solace from? There's no one to take solace from in reference to Ahlul Kisa. And that's why the mourning of Imam Hussain is culminated, because he was the last member of the cloak. He was the epitome, the highlights, the apex of the climax of this family that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to this world in order to enlighten this world and to take this world into a better perspective. According to Professor Toynbee, he says this: when a society deteriorates, this is the point, this is your khilafah, this is your task on earth. He says, when a society deteriorates and degenerates, and it looks to be beyond and hope for reform, God decides to send his man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes it upon himself to send a guide who in all his behavior and conduct reflects God's own qualities. Wallah, this guy understands Islam more than me. Because you know what Allah says? Allah wants you to be like that. Allah wants you to assume the attributes of Allah. تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. It's not just enough for you to be a human being of your magnitude. You need to assume that godly qualities in you in order to be that guide on earth, in order to be that manifestation of God power on earth, when he said, I am investing in you. When he said to the malaika and challenged the malaika, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. Why inni a'lamu ma ta'lam? Because I have put these potentials in that human being, that he is able and capable to bring people out from darkness into what? Into light, into the right perspective, into the right path and manner that I expect from them. According to him, he says, as I said, that this man brings out his man to do what? Who in all his behavior, everything reflects God about him. The way he speaks, the way he walks, the way he deals with people, the way he sits, the way he communicates, the way he defends, the way he stands for the truth, the way he helps others. Everything a manifestation of God's power, a manifestation of God's quality. Isn't it a fact that Allah himself says to us, Abdi, Abdi, worship me, do the things I expect of you, right? Takun mathali. Mathali, you become my example. You will say to things, be, and what? What will happen? And it is. Taqul lishay'i kun fayakun. Subhanallah. Be like I expect you to be, because I have invested all these things in you. His virtues and traits, so much so that it seems, look what the Prophet said, that it seems as if God himself has descended on earth. Subhanallah. And when people looked at Imam Hussain, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, they looked at him in awe. When Imam Hussain was in the community, in the society, and he came across people would look at him and say, you know, you are either one of two things, if they didn't know him, right? Like those, for example, the stories of people from Sham who used to come and had no clue about Imam Hussain, salawatullahi wa sallam, because of the distortion, you know. I say the media in Sham at that time is tantamount to today's media, to Fox News. Honest to God. These people, they utilized so much fabrications, so much lies, that Fox News today stand to be ashamed. In comparison, they say, you know guys, we can't get up to you. We can't get to your standards. Honest to God. What you've done to history, we cannot even come to your knees in terms of the lies and the fabrications that you have concocted and put together. That's why people could not believe that these people were even holy. But when they communicated with them, often the answer in the hadith is concluded with the following statement. Either you're a prophet or you are from the progeny of prophets. Right? That was the answer all the time. Once they came to interact with them, like that famous story of Imam Hassan, when that Shami came and he was entering Medina with Imam Hassan, and you know Imam Hassan heard the man swearing and cursing at Imam Ali and at Imam Hassan. So imagine you are traveling with someone, imagine you, okay, you're not traveling with him, but at least you give him a ride. Imagine someone hitchhiked, you know, on the 4th Ring Road. You have something called 4th Ring Road? Yeah, you have a 4th Ring Road. Imagine I stopped on 4th Ring Road, someone was hitchhiking, and I stopped, and I got him in. He doesn't know me, the guy. He starts swearing at my dad. Ajib. He doesn't know that he's my dad, but he starts swearing at my dad, left, right, and center, and I'm sitting there. Man, it's 40 degrees outside. I can simply chuck you out and tell you to walk it, and I don't have to hear this abuse about my dad, right? So he enters Medina with that Shami guy, and the guy is going off his head at Imam Hassan, at Imam Ali. So look at the reaction of Imam Hassan. He looks at him, he smiles. He said, you must be a stranger. Who else would say this? You know, someone from Medina would not say this. He says, you must be a stranger. Yeah, I just came from Damascus. He said, that says it all. I'm saying this. The Imam didn't say that. Okay. I'm paraphrasing. He said, so you are from Sham. He said, can I host you? Ajib. Someone swearing at your dad, you say to him, can I host you? The man says, you know what? tell you the truth, I have no place to go to. So it's ideal if you host me. He said, okay, come. Gives him food, gives him clothes, gives him, food. And then the Imam at the end, he says, and if you want more, we'll be more than happy to accommodate you. So that man looks at Imam Hussain and said, who are you? He says, I'm the son of the person you've been swearing for the past 2 days. Wallah ajib. They say, why do we love these people? Where do you find someone like them to love? Why do we love them? Because of their actions, because of the way they behaved, because of the way they presented themselves to the community, because they never took it personally. They never took things personally. They never took things on their person that this is an abuse to me personally, because these people don't know. We need to educate them. So, by his actions, the man turns to him. He says, you are Hassan? He says, yes, I am Hassan, son of Ali, salawatullahi salam. He says, oh my God, my apologies. My apologies. I've been such a bad host, such a bad guest. I'm swearing at you, you're being kind to me. He said, La tasriba alayk. There's no problem, no problem. You're misled. You don't know the truth. I owe you to tell you what the truth is. That man makes a statement that has been recorded for the end of time. He says, by God, I came to Medina, and no one is more hated to my heart than you and your father. And now I leave Medina, and no one is more beloved to my heart than you and your father. Change the setup of that human being. Change his mindset. Imagine if we as a community living in a predominant community that does not affiliate with our standards or our faith, but we reached out to them the way our imams reach out to them. Would they have any excuse to hate us or to reject us? Or would they accept us and embrace us? Right? But the problem, we wanted people to embrace us without us embracing them first. And that's the problem in the West as well, as Muslims living in the West. We are being discriminated against. We are not loved. I don't know. And we cheat the system. We say we are married, we say we are divorced, yet we are married. All right? So what do? You go and you do a civil divorce, but you are still married to your wife, so you can get 2 wages. Of course the West is going to hate you. Why would they love you? Right? You've come, taken their resources, played with their system, and cheated on the welfare. And what else do you want? And then we do all of these, and then what do we say? We are going to Jannah, and they are going to hellfire. Really? Who gives you that? Right? Who gives you that, book to tell you to start dividing people into hell and paradise? Who gave you that authority in the first place to do that? Let's go back to that man, because he is very interesting in what he says. Then he says, look what he says in that book, amazing. He says, Christ and Hussein. Ajib. Subhanallah, this guy is not a Muslim. He says, Christ and Hussein were such vicegerents of God. Christ and Hussein were such vicegerents of God, ordained to dispel evil and vice from their contemporary societies. Subhanallah. And this is exactly the statement that Imam Hussain made. I did not come out of haughtiness. I did not come out of arrogance. I came out seeking reform. Right? Practical vicegerency of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I assume the attributes of Allah. I put them into action in order to reform the contemporary societies that we live. And rightly so, the Imam of the faithful, not my words, I'm still quoting. This Toynbee is saying, he says, rightly so, the Imam of the faithful launched a most effective battle against the evil of his time. In this battle of right and wrong, apparently he lost. Apparently, on military basis, right? On military basis, it was not a balanced war. It was not a fair war. At least the lowest account 72 or 120 if we add everyone. 72 the companions. But the members of Ahlul Bayt, including the women and what have you, amounts to about 120 people altogether, right? That were in Karbala. To at least, the least account was 30,000. 30,000. You know, there is a riwayah. I want to actually find whether this riwayah is authentic or not. The riwayah says, وَقَدْ خَلَتِ الْكُوفَ مِنْ رِجَالِهَا وَأَهْلِهَا. When Imam Hussain came to Karbala, they were mobilized. People were mobilized to go against and fight, either to come out to fight or at least to come and observe. You know, sometimes you go to a battle, you don't participate. You just sit and look, right? To see what is happening. That was the habit. The riwayah says, وَقَدْ خَلَتِ الْكُوفَ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. There hardly anyone remained in Kufa. At that time, they say the population of Kufa was almost 1 million. Ajib. خَلَتِ الْكُوفَ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. These people came just to look in order to humiliate the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ajib. Okay, at least count 30,000. So it is an imbalanced war. There's no balance in might and power. In this battle of right and wrong, apparently he lost, meaning Imam Hussain, even his life and the lives of his kith and kin. But when the dust wastefully settled on the brave and blood-stained bodies of the various soldiers of humanity, a fine distinction between right and wrong had made itself manifest, and through his supreme sacrifice, the Imam had achieved his noble goal to uphold justice and persevere deen against heresy. He said it was because of his death that religion was saved from heresy, from disbelief, from violation of the laws, fabrications of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the poet says, is Hussein due to Muslims alone? Is he or he is the meteor on the horizon of humanity? Let humanity wake up to his clarion call, for every nation will say Hussein is ours. Subhanallah. Every nation will say Hussein is ours. And this reminds me of something similar, but it is said about his father, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, because they are from the same light, from the same nur. This poetry is said in Arabic, but it is said by a Christian person, not a Muslim. His name is Bul al-Salama. Bul al-Salama was a Lebanese Christian poet. When he studied the life of Imam Ali, you know what he said? He said, لا تقل شيعة هواة علي إن في كل منصف شيعية. Don't say only the Shias are the lovers of Ali. In every fair person, there is a sense of Shi'ism. In every fair person, there is a sense of Shi'ism. هو فخر التاريخ لا فخر شعب يصطفيه ويدعيه وليا. Don't say that he's the pride of one nation. Rather, he's the pride of history. Allahu Akbar. The entire history, Ali is its pride. And look what he says then. جلجل الحق في المسيحي حتى صار من فرط حبه علويا. الله أكبر. جلجل الحق في المسيحي. Truth has availed itself within the Christian, talking about himself, until from his love to Ali, he became a Alawi. Allahu Akbar. Because of his love to Ali, he became, and then towards the end, he said, سفر خير الأنام من بعد طه ما رأى الكون مثله آدميا. Allahu Akbar. He is surely the ambassador after Taha, after the Prophet. No one has seen to amount to his character in the entire human race. يا سماء اشهدي ويا أرض قري واخشعي أنني ذكرت عليا. Allahu Akbar. He says in conclusion of his poetry, O heaven and O earth, bear witness and be in awe that I actually remembered and mentioned Ali in my poetry. It is as if this poet is saying what? Testify to me on the day of judgment that I mentioned Ali, perchance Allah would look at me and take me under the intercession of Ali. Salawatullah sallam. These are the examples of vicegerents. This is how we need to relate to our Imam Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. This is very true. Hussein is utilized by both Muslims and non-Muslim for his piety and perseverance, his undertaking and his unshakable will. Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. لا والله لا أعطيكم إعطاء الذليل لا أقر لكم إقرار العبيد. Imam Hussain said, I will not surrender like a slave to you. No. Why? Because I don't see life with the tyrant except as loss. لا أرى الموت إلا سعادة والحياة مع الظالمين إلا برما. Subhanallah. I want to live a life of integrity and honesty. To live in this life, I need to live with integrity. If I cannot live with integrity, I would rather die happy. Subhanallah. لا أرى الموت إلا سعادة. I do not see death except as a beacon of happiness and life with the oppressors as what? Except as total loss. What is the meaning of a life where I feel that I'm being subjugated on a daily basis, that I've been ignored on a daily basis, that my rights are not being preserved on a daily basis, that my honor is being violated on a daily basis? What sort of life is this? You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, لا تتمنوا الموت. Don't ask for death, except in one thing. Subhanallah. Who were to wish for death is not a good thing, by the way. But the Prophet says, except in one thing. إِذَا كَانَ بَاطُنِ الْأَرْضِ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ مِنْ ظَاهِرِهَا. Allahu Akbar. It says, only wish for death if the inside of the earth is better than outside the earth. Meaning what? There is so much corruption on the face of this earth that you can't change it. Then the inside of the earth is better for you. It's better for you. That's why Imam Hussain sallallahu alayhi had risen and said, no, I will not forfeit my duty as a vicegerent in the practical sense. Yes, you know what? The funny thing about Imam Hussain, or the funny thing about us as humans, is that who can deny the fact that Hussain is in Jannah or not? Is he or not? Al-Hasan wal-Hussain Sayyiday Shababi Ahlil Jannah. Meaning what? The Prophet had already told them where you're going to go or not. I don't know where I'm going. But Hussein knows. I don't know. Inshallah, I pray for you and me and all the lovers, inshallah, the Muslims, that they will end up in Jannah. Inshallah. The whole world, we pray that they will end up in Jannah. Not just Muslims. You know, everyone, we should pray to them that they will end up in Jannah eventually. Some way, somehow or another. Right? But do we doubt that Imam Hussain knows where he's going? He is in Jannah. Why does he have to die? To attain martyrdom, to go to Jannah? He's already there. Right? So the question in the mindset of Hussain was not Jannah. The question in the mind of Hussain was, how do I take others with me to Jannah? And how a different mindset it is for someone who is only worried about himself going to Jannah and someone worried about the whole world going with him to Jannah. See, this is vicegerency. This is true representation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. Why? Because Allah wants you to take others with you. You know, there was, I mentioned in the Q&A that I wanted to say a story. But I'll leave it to another day because subhanallah, time runs out very quickly when you're having fun. I hope you are having fun as well, or you're benefiting inshallah some way or another. But this story is about two people which were the only two people that believed in Prophet Yunus, by the way. Can you imagine a prophet comes to an entire nation? He spends his day and night calling them to worship Allah and to believe in Allah. He's a prophet of God. Ends up with two people believing in him. What a disaster, right? And one of them was a abid and one of them was a alim. You know, sometimes the abid is a disaster in himself because he is individually focused. While the alim is comprehensively focused. He wants everyone. And I will tell you the story why I said that. It's not bad to be a abid, but sometimes a abid can take you through the wall, and can make you hit the wall and you come to a standstill. You don't get anywhere with him, right? A alim is a completely different scenario. Completely different scenario because of their knowledge of how to be encompassing of others on the basis of their knowledge. That's why Rasulullah, what he says, Midadul ulama afdalu min dima'i shuhada. Allahu Akbar. The ink of a scholar is higher in rank than the blood of a martyr. Why? Don't look at me. I'm not an alim, by the way. I'm a student. I'm not talking about myself. So don't think I'm praising myself. I don't know if I can even amount to the what do you call it? To the knees of an alim or to the foot of an alim. I'm just studying. So, but the alims of that caliber who comprehensively look at the situation and try their level best to save everyone with them, they are the true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's what we need to look at. Anyway, we need definitely in these days and in these nights to cry for Abi Abdullah, because crying generates a kind of heat, and heat is energy, and based on that energy then we can put that vicegerency into practice. And that's why crying has been prescribed. Crying has not just been prescribed in a passive manner. No, it's not passive crying, it's active crying. It's crying that launches you into action and not just puts you back in order to vent certain emotions. When Imam Hussain salawatullah wa salamu alayh decided to leave, something very strange happened in the house of Imam Hussain. Everyone was preparing to leave. One of the narrators of the hadith, they say, I saw my father going to the house of Imam Hussain to observe the caravan of Imam Hussain, how the caravan of Imam Hussain is leaving Medina. And at that time I was a young boy, so I said, you know what, let me go and also observe what is happening. He said, when I arrived at the house of Imam Hussain, salawatullahi salam alayh, I saw something very, mind-boggling. I saw members of the family coming out and they want to ride their camels. And all of a sudden, each lady would be escorted by a man. So Ali al-Akbar goes inside, brings out his what? His mother. Al-Qasim goes inside the house, brings out his mother. And then they put her on the camel or the horse or whatever the case. He said, but then a lady came out and she was draped in black from head to toe. تَجُرُّ أَذْيَالَهَا. Her dress is dragging behind her like a queen. And all of a sudden this man came and kneeled before her. And he said to her, put your leg on my knee in order to ascend your camel. I was so fascinated by that look. I asked, who is this lady and who is the man? And I was informed that the man was Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and the lady was Zainab. Salamullah alayha. Look at the honor, the dignity, the respect that they gave to their sister, salawatullah wa salam alayha. But this is not the point. The point is that when this was being observed, there was a young girl. Her name is Fatima al-Alila. She went into her room and she started packing her clothes in her tiny hands. And she was waiting for her father, Imam Hussain, to tell her, Yalla, your camel is ready. Your mount is ready. To her shock and surprise, Imam Hussain came in and he said, what are you doing? She said, I'm preparing myself to travel with you. He said, you're not going. She said, what do you mean I'm not going? He said, you are sick and tired and you will not be able to bear the consequences of torment and being taken captive of war. It is as if the Imam said to Fatima al-Alila, show me your hands. So she stretched her hands before Imam Hussain and he said, oh Fatima, my darling daughter, your hands are so soft, they will not bear the tightening or the tightening of the ropes. Fatima al-Alila said to Imam Hussain, of course, if this is the case then and you can't take me, at least let me be your servant and slave. Let me help you in the tents. Let me serve you whenever you want someone to serve you. He said, it's not about serving, my darling daughter. We're not going on a trip or a holiday. We are going to our destiny. We are going to a place of no return. We may not come back, but I promise you that if all things settle and we are able to settle our affairs, I promise you, I will send either Ali al-Akbar, I will send Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salamullah alayhi, to fetch you and bring you to us. She said, I sat in my room every day. I would go to the room of my father, Imam Hussain, salawatullahi salamu alayhi, after the caravan had left, and I saw the caravan leaving. And when the caravan was leaving, I remembered something. I rushed behind my father, Imam Hussain. I stopped him. I said, darling father, since you are going and you're not going to take me with you, I have one request, one final request. He says, what is it, my darling daughter? He said, leave Al-Radi' with me. At least I can look after him. Leave Ali al-Asghar with me. He's a child. Why are you taking my brother with you? If I can't bear the consequences of captivity, how would my Ali al-Asghar be in a position to bear all this torment and to bear all this torture? He said, my darling daughter, this child needs his mother. His mother needs to suckle him. His mother needs to tend to him. You are unable to be that to him because you are also frail and you are not feeling well. She let go. The riwayah says she stayed 20 days or so. No answer came. Then she decides to send a letter to Imam Hussain, salawatullah wa salamu alayh. The riwayah says the letter arrived actually in Karbala. It arrived in Karbala. At that time, she sent it with someone who was traveling to Iraq. He came towards the place where Imam Hussain was, and he asked, where is Hussain, salamullah alayh? When the letter arrived to Hussain, salawatullah wa salamu alayh, when everyone had perished, the letter arrived. The riwayah says the man arrived at the time when Imam Hussain was saying, ألا هل من ناصر ينصرنا ألا هل من يذب عن حمانا. Is there anyone who will come to our rescue? Is there anyone that will come to our victory? Imam Hussain opened the letter. He started reading the letter. He started weeping. Zainab saw Imam Hussain. She said, why are you weeping? He said, this is letter from Fatima al-Alila, my daughter. She says, why is it that it makes you cry? Maybe she's inquiring about your whereabouts. He said, yes, exactly. That's what is making me cry. She said, what does she say? She's inquiring about Ali al-Akbar. Is my brother Ali al-Akbar in good health? What happened to my uncle Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas? Why haven't I heard from you, oh Lord? Why have you neglected me? And then Imam Hussain turns to Sayyidah Zainab. He says, you know what breaks my heart the most? She said, what? She said, she's inquiring about Ali al-Asghar. Little she knows, لَقَدْ ذَبَحُوهُ مِنَ الْوَرِيدِ إِلَى الْوَرِيدِ. They have killed him and severed his head from one end to the other. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. صلوات.